either could and did compromise a crime scene, often in a matter of minutes. On the advice of Bernie Lofgren and his forensics team, the Scientific Identification Division, or SID, the department had issued foul weather directives for all first officers, the first patrol person to arrive on the scene. Regulations now required plastic tarps and oversized umbrellas as mandatory equipment for the trunk of every cruiser, but mistakes were still made, and that night seemed ripe for them. As Bolt hurried up the home's short poured cement driveway, he faced the garage, behind and to the left of the house. A basketball hoop and paint-chipped backboard faced the street. Bolt ignored the garage for the time being, his attention instead focused on the SID van parked there in the drive. Of all the divisions, SID should have understood the importance of protecting evidence, should have respected the department's attitude toward parking on private property. And yet there was the SID step van, inexplicably parked in the victim's driveway. One expected the occasional procedural error from the medical examiner's chuck wagon, even tolerated it when, as had happened earlier that night, an ambulance had been required to carry away a victim, and so had likely parked in the drive. But as the collectors and keepers of evidence, SID had no excuse for parking in a crime scene driveway for any reason. Some SID tech had wanted to avoid the rain, that was all, and that wasn't good enough. The infraction incited Bolt's temper, and in a rare display of emotion, he exploded at the first SID tech he encountered. He ordered the van relocated to the street. Privately, Bolt blamed the Blu Flu, SPD's first sick-out by its officers in the history of the department. The flu had so overwhelmed morale that it now apparently offered even civilian employees, like those who peopled SID, an excuse to turn in shoddy, rushed work. He wondered what chance law enforcement had if the 5-day-old sick-out continued. He also feared the consequences. Shoddy work wasn't the only outcome of the flu. Officers, including Bolt, had been threatened by anonymous calls. Lines were being drawn. Violence bubbled beneath the surface. A first-degree burglary indicated an assault, in this case a broken neck and the possible rape of Sanchez, a cop. Bolt felt the urgency of the situation. This case needed to clear before the press had a chance to run with it, before the press became fixated on the vulnerability of a police department weakened by flu. Already on the job, Detective Bobby Gaines offered Bolt and the investigation a ray of hope. Because of the flu and a lottery-like case assignment strategy that had the depleted ranks, lieutenants and above mostly, accepting whatever cases dispatched through at them, this crime scene belonged to neither Bolt nor Gaines, but to Lieutenant Daphne Matthews, whose official posting was that of staff psychologist. Bolt expected Matthews on the scene momentarily, even looked forward to it. They worked well together. A woman in her early 30s who regularly altered her looks for the fun of it, the diminutive Gaines currently wore her hair cut short and colored a dark red. The heavy-rimmed black geek glasses and barely there makeup created a style that was a cross between hip urban single woman and computer programmer, which actually went a fair distance to describing her personality as well. Gaines lived for computer chat rooms these days. Her prompt arrival on the scene came as no surprise. Bolt had personally brought Gaines to homicide following her stellar work on a serial killer case some years earlier. Before that, she had worked special assaults, sex crimes as her fellow officers called it. With the Sanchez crime scene initially reported as a burglary assault, rape couldn't be ruled out. Gaines was a good detective to have on hand. Bolt kept expecting the press, the lights, the questions. They would need answers immediately. "You knew Maria Sanchez, didn't you?" Gaines asked. "I know her personally," Bolt corrected. "Yes. I only meant—" Bolt interrupted. "She sat the kids a few times," he added. "The kids loved her." Violent crimes against fellow police officers held special significance for anyone carrying a badge. All crimes were not investigated equally, a fact of life. Members of the immediate police family deserved and received special attention. Maria Sanchez would be no exception. Daphne Matthews arrived and checked in with Bolt and Gaines. As lead, Matthews handed out the assignments. Bolt deferred to her, a reversal of their usual roles.